Good morning and welcome to the Rebel Rally Live Show presented this year by our friends at Kia. You might be wondering what's going on the screen right now. Matthew and I have moved this morning. Good morning, Matthew. How are you doing?
Hey, good, Katie. Great. Fantastic.
Good
it's
sleeps?
Beautiful out here. Yeah.
It was a lovely evening last night. Not too cold, but we have moved. And before we let you know what's going on behind us, we're going to go talk to Jimmy Lewis, who set up this precision enduro. Let's quickly recap yesterday. Yesterday was stage 2. It was all about terrain changes. The competitors went from the wild west of Nevada into the wild west of California. And in the meeting this morning, Emily said that it was the longest recorded day in the history of the Rebel. It was brutal.
It was brutal. It was a long distance, and it was really hard to manage time for teams yesterday.
And a lot of teams actually missed some of those green checkpoints, which if you miss, you can drop 20 points. So it's changed the game completely. And another thing we noticed over in the impound yesterday was, oh, hold on, we've got our stage winners. Look at this, the electric class with Emmy Hall from Oakland, California, and Rebecca Donaghy from Marina Del Rey are in the lead for stage 1.
So they've been overall 4x4 winners in the past,
yep.
And then X-Cross winners last year. They're bringing a lot of firepower and an electric vehicle this year, but that's got some of its own challenges, and we might get into that later.
Absolutely. And then the X-Cross division yesterday, the winners of that were Penny Dale from Vancouver, BC, and Shelby Hall from Reno, Nevada. So this is our stage 2 winners. Now, one thing that I noticed, as I was saying earlier, in the impound last night, there were a lot of limping third teammates. And on the Rebel, we call our third teammates our vehicle. And in this morning's meeting, we had a little chat about, if you don't take care of your third teammate, you're not going to make it to the finish line. And there's a famous quote from Emily Miller that all Rebels know: you cannot win until you know how to finish. Why don't you talk? Actually, we're going to go and talk to Jimmy Lewis in a minute, but I think we should look at a Sunto commercial.
All right, let's have a look.
Given it's a precision enduro.
I mean, a compass is your teammate too when you're on this hill.
On this hill, you need your compass for sure.
Hi, I'm Justin from Wagon Tech, a company that has been in the Bay Area of California for over 37 years. As an automotive lifestyle company, we provide products that give you power, comfort, and convenience for the road ahead. Power means having a hot cup of coffee no matter where you are. Comfort is enjoying your trip. Convenience is having the tools you need when you need it. With Wagon Tech, you'll always be road ready.
Live streams have 20 times more engagement than normal video. It allows for more ad dollars, sponsorship opportunities, and most importantly, an incredible opportunity to grow your brand. In motorsports, it's crucial to keep your fans close to the action, whether that be mounting a camera directly in a car, following the coverage from the air, or setting up cameras throughout the course. Live View takes away from the technical drama of getting a high-quality production out there, so you can focus on what you do, creating quality content.
So stage 3 today, let's talk a little bit about what that entails. It's a 200-kilometre day. There are 23 scoreable checkpoints. 5 of those are green, 12 of them are blue, and 6 of them are black. And 9 are the X options that we talk about each day. It's a new feature in the rally this year. The competitors have a choice when they get to these X checkpoints to choose whether it be a navigation potentially or a driving challenge. You can see there, I think that is Susie McBride and Maria. Maria competed with her mom, Debbie Bruin, last year, and they have just made it to the top of this hill. So day 3, let's talk about that. We joke about it, even the crew jokes about it. Your day 3 on the rally doesn't actually always happen on day 3, but it's that day when the wheels might fall off a little, and you really have to show your grit and your endurance.
In day 3, perhaps some of your kind of standard operating methods start to catch up with you. If you've been hanging out with your friends a little bit too late at night, if you've been not eating well and taking care of yourself, not taking care of your vehicle, as we saw yesterday.
Yep.
Before day 3, some vehicles kind of struggling a bit. So day 3 is where things get real today. We're gonna things are gonna get pretty difficult for a few of the teams out there.
Can you give us an overview of the course description today?
Yeah. I have some beautifully assembled words here from Emily that I'd love to tell you about.
And look at that. I mean, just before we hear about it, I mean, that's where they're going. They're beginning with this precision enduro, which you can see on the screen, and then they have another long day heading down California. Go ahead. What's this day entail,
Okay,
Matthew?
so today is the most difficult day navigation-wise that we've had thus far in the rally. Stuff, like I said, going to get real today. Teams start the day in Spengler Open OHV area. Now, an OHV area is an off-highway vehicle access point where you can kind of drive around in the dirt wherever you want. The OHV area allows them to use dead reckoning navigation to collect their first checkpoints. Crossing the valley south of Ridgecrest, they make their way to the west, where they start their final on-time enduro, signaling the transition into more challenging, rough driving that is characteristic of Southern California and the Mojave Desert. 2019 competitors may be happy to find themselves back in Dove Springs to challenge their climbing and descending skills before turning west towards Kelso Valley. The return to base camp takes them through the Red Rocks north of Red Rock OHV area, staying on BLM land. After competitors cross the finish line, they're given the opportunity to challenge their precision roadbook skills in an extreme enduro that takes them onto the steep terrain that overlooks the base camp. Now, I gotta say, that's what we're doing first, actually. Instead of the end of the day, the extreme enduro is what you're watching behind us.
Absolutely, and it is extreme. We'll go and chat to Jimmy Lewis in a little while about how he planned this, and he put a lot of time into it. But before we do that, let's have a look at the tracker. You're going to see all the cars in a localized spot because they haven't headed down the line yet. But if you want to follow along at home, download YB Races. Okay, if you download YB Races, you will be able to see where the vehicles are. This is yesterday's timeline, and you'll see them. There we go. They're moving down the line. You'll see now and then one of them will go off and come back in, but our safety crew monitors this all of the time, and this is how we monitor where they are. So we race ahead, and then we figure out time-wise whether we're going to be there to see them live, which we actually got yesterday at Chocolate Mountain. So download this, and then the other way to follow, if we can pull up the scoring, Tracy, that would be fabulous.
Can I add something about YB?
Please do.
Remember, you can see the checkpoints on YB Tracker, and that made it look like just a bunch of colorful boxes driving down some roads. We weren't at a zoom level to see when they stopped and moved over and went to different checkpoints and got their points or not.
We've got a team right here. Look, this team's laughing so hard I don't know how they're going to...
What's going on with this?
Anyway,
with
back
this
to the
safety
scoring.
clip on your sunglasses?
You can see that here. We've got the standings. Emmy Hall and Rebecca Donaghy are in the lead. After that, we have Kaylee Miller and Terrelyn. Now, they were winners in 2017. They weren't together as a team last year, but they're back together and clearly on the mark. And then the Benzies, hot on their tail. The Benzies are in third place. And our outlier here, Susie McBride, a rookie with Maria Guitar, who's a very, very good navigator. So that isn't surprising there, but it's great to see a rookie so far.
I'll tell you what's a little surprising from what I'm looking at. I don't know what that point spread is, but Rochelle and Taylor did not have the best day yesterday. They were last year's winner.
Yeah, and they led every single day.
They led every day last year.
It shows how tight this competition is. Oh, look, and here we've got Nissan, who's right next to us. You're doing all right there, ladies. Fantastic. Okay, so now we've got the X-Cross. How are they doing? We've got Shelby Hall and Penny Dale. Chris, British Columbia, fabulous. And then Rachel Ride now. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Mitsubishi and their electric capabilities. I understand once they have to go into front-wheel drive?
Yeah, well, all manufacturers are experimenting with what the most efficient hybrid systems are. In their case, the hybrid drives the rear wheels, so the electric boost drives the rear wheels. That's how it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. When the battery is depleted, you're not all-wheel drive anymore. So it's just the way it's built. It's probably great for, lots of things, and she's figuring out how to make it work during the rally, but it's a constant back-of-mind challenge for Rachel and Christy to be managing.
So I talked to Rachel earlier and I said, explain to me, I don't understand the electric vehicles that well. Explain to me exactly how you're thinking about this. And she said, it's a town car. And it is doing really, really well out here in the desert. And basically, it's like anything in the rally, you just have to be strategic. It's all strategy, and she has to save that battery power so that she's got the torque she needs when she needs it.
And there's another case, you might navigate up near a checkpoint and just get out of the car and run up the mountain or run around the corner
okay.
because it's, say, deep sand or something.
Yeah.
So just strategically, they'll get off and do more work on foot to get those checkpoints.
Fabulous. Now let's get on quickly, if you've just joined us, and we'll talk about the competition format for those people that don't understand the rally. It's important to know that it's not a race for speed. It is a navigational challenge, and it's map and compass challenges basically, and we have checkpoints that are rated green, blue and black, just like in skiing. The green's easy, you have to get them, they're worth a lot of points. If you don't get them, we had a few competitors yesterday who missed their green checkpoints and they fell right down the line.
And they missed their green checkpoints because of a timing struggle to keep up and on time for the day. But when you lose 20 points out of your total, it can take you out of contention for this whole event, and missing one green checkpoint.
Did you know, I learned this morning, did you know if you miss a green checkpoint, Matthew, you can't go after the blues and blacks after it. You actually have to go directly to the next green checkpoint and then continue. So that's why we saw that those teams lost those other points afterwards. You miss a green checkpoint and you must go directly to the next, because that's the way Chrissy keeps them on time.
Yeah, that's the way we keep on time and keep up with everybody.
So let's talk about checkpoints explained.
Sure. So like we said, our greens, you get 20 points per green that you stop at. That's the most points. Actually, some are worth even more than that. But we have people at the green checkpoints that can pass information to competitors if needed. Some competitors choose to stop at the greens and eat a bit of food and establish their mission or whatever. Our blue checkpoints often are a blue flag. Sometimes they're a blue stake, and they're not always obvious. They require more off-roading and more clever navigation to achieve. And then our black checkpoints are unmarked entirely. So literally you're driving around in the expanse of the desert, and at some point, based on your map and your little tick in the book that you made at 5:45 in the morning with watery eyes still, when you think you're on your little dot that you measured out that morning, you click your tracker and you hope for the best. Now those black checkpoints have radius bands around them, let's say circles basically, that qualify for different points. So if you're in the tightest circle around the black checkpoint, you get the most points. And then the points decrease as you're further and further away, until at one point you will achieve what we call a wide miss, and you actually get a penalty for signaling in a wide miss. All right, so moving on to look at our Enduro challenges. They're the other half of the competition when we're not doing map and compass. There's an on-time Enduro and an en-route Enduro. Today we have maybe just on-time Enduros. I'll double check that. But in both cases you have a traditional rally road book. It shows you tulips and distances. It shows you an overall distance and a distance between tulips. And the tulip is a little picture drawn with an arrow on the end for where you're supposed to go in that intersection. It'll also have notes or other things to help you stay on. And an en-route Enduro basically is following the road book, but you get points for stopping along the way. The on-time Enduro is the more difficult one traditionally because you have to maintain an average speed. So we going back to our big overhead view there. I'm not quite sure who that is. All right, we're going to actually, Will and I were out and shot a pretty funny behind-the-scenes Enduro piece, and let's check that out. All right, Matthew Johnson coming to you from out here in the field at the beginning of the first on-time Enduro of the event. And how this goes is they'll pull up to this line, they look at a clock here, and they see that they are synchronized, and they leave on the minute. And then in a certain number of minutes from here, if they've kept their average speed, we know exactly when they should roll by one of our checkpoints. If they roll by that checkpoint in a 5-second window, they're going to get full points. If they roll by that checkpoint in a 6 to 10 second window, they get a couple more points. Basically, the further they are from where they should be at the checkpoint, the fewer points they get.
We have to calculate, given the kilometers, the number of kilometers, and the speed, the average, prescribed average speed, how much time that should take us.
Yeah, so this is a road book, and it basically gives us turn-by-turn directions as we go along the prescribed route, and we have a prescribed speed here and the directions at each distance, and then we have to figure out exactly what time we need to hit each of these directions so that we can get the maximum number of points. You get the most points if you're in the smallest window closest to the actual time.
So I just ran up this hill trying not to stand on a solar power panel from Power Innovations, who run our base camps this year, running up to get hold of Jimmy Lewis. I feel like I spend most of my rally chasing Jimmy Lewis because he is the mastermind behind many of the course challenges. Jimmy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your baby? This is your favorite challenge, right?
Yeah, well, one of them. We wanted to do it last year, but Emily wasn't convinced it would work, and so we actually had the staff do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had it. The book was done, and we grabbed the staff and had them kind of go out and try it. And of course, Chrissy Beavis nailed it. So that was probably a real problem in the long run because
Chrissy and Matthew nailed it.
Yeah, and so it was like, oh, if I can do it, anybody can do it. She's got that mentality, and. So we went ahead and stuck it in this year, and even though 2 or 3 times we took it out and put it back in and took it out and put it back in, we came up with a system where it would work really good. It's great, like right off the start line. This is a great little challenge. They get some super technical driving. It's called a precision enduro. So literally you're going 20 or 30 meters and given an instruction, another 110 meters and you're given an instruction that tells them there's the artist's rendition of what's on the ground. That's me. I was the artist that drew it. And you're making these turns and driving over rocks and up canyons and gullies and yeah.
And it's short, right? It's only 1 kilometer.
I think it's
new mic. We needed the logo on it. That's why.
Logo, yeah.
See, brand appropriate.
So
it's short.
It's short. It's only 1 kilometer, but there's I think like 25 instructions, and there's a couple different map books, so they just can't follow because you could be following somebody the wrong way, and then somebody could go the wrong way, and you could follow them the wrong way. So you've got to do what the map book says, and it looks like they're fun. They're driving some interesting places.
That aren't on the. Are they? Yeah. From looking at that, are they in places that they shouldn't be?
Well, I can't say it out loud, but yeah.
All right, well, I know that I can't take up too much of Jimmy's time because he won't talk to me later on. We're going to see you out on course, hopefully?
Yeah, I'll be out in the Dove Springs area. I have to leave right now to go set up all the checkpoints, and then I'll hang out. You guys are doing another show out there at what time?
Yeah, we'll meet you out there.
What time?
Well, that's always TBD. You told me 11, but 11? I'm going to go with what you told me today.
Okay, around 11 o'clock, you'll be going live.
All right, it's a date. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, let's have a look at the clip that we made about enduros, and you can see what the road book. Oh, we've already watched it. Okay, well, how about we go and see what Matthew's up to, and he can take us through this particular tulip book, road book with tulips in it.
I have to go do real work.
Nothing's going on. All right. All right, and we're coming back together here.
Sorry,
at our booth.
I left you. I had to run up and catch Jimmy. You know what he's like, desert rat, running away from me the whole time.
Totally. Jimmy, I'll meet you here then.
Yeah,
and he's nowhere.
And then he just drives past me. He's like, I'll meet you here. And then I'm like, Jimmy, and he just drives off. I don't take it personally, but I should.
What did he tell us about the precision enduro here?
He told us that there's some people coming down places that aren't on the road book. So why don't you have a look at this road book, Matthew?
Yeah, well, this is an example. I don't know if I can show this to the screen or not.
Yeah, just hold it up.
Can I? Because I want to show you how confusing some of these tulips could be.
Oh, no, we're not. We're still on the wide shot.
We're getting this, fine. We're getting the big wide. There's the Benzies starting, and there's zebra-looking Jeep there, the white and black short wheelbase.
This particular road book, Matthew,
Yeah?
is hard. Like they said in the morning meeting, it's definitely open to the artist's interpretation. Have a look at some of those. I think they're supposed to be rocks. They look like peanuts.
Rocks.
I mean,
that
as
look
you
like
know,
peanuts?
as a rally driver,
Yeah.
it's hard. Okay, can you hear it? Can you hear the Mercedes?
That's it, isn't it? I guess those rear strut mounts are hanging in there.
These two are on the road. These shock mounts were gone 2 days. Matthew's got his mic down under the tyre. Hold on, let's look at what the Benzies are doing. They're just hanging out there. They might be they're not taking a heading because they wouldn't be doing it in their vehicle because their compass wouldn't work. Maybe they're just reading their road book. I mean, have a look at it. It's really, really complicated.
Yeah. There's a lot to take in on these tulips, and as much as is drawn here, since when the tulips were drawn, the dirt and the surface may have changed again. Especially during COVID times, with everyone out riding their ATVs around and side-by-sides around, some of these roads have changed or gotten used more. There's new roads here, so the tulips can be really confusing.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here with Renee and Christian. They had their shock mounts were gone.
Yes.
Was it yesterday or the day before? I'm losing track of time.
2 days ago.
But here's what's cool. Yesterday they overheated twice, and I talked to Renee last night, and she's like, you know what? We didn't have wheels on the back of our vehicle the day before that, so we're really stoked that we have a vehicle. We have something that can overheat. So
I love
anyway, let's go and talk to our resident expert, Harry Wagner, and he can talk a little bit about the vehicles and the challenges they'll face on this Precision Enduro. Harry, over to you.
Thanks, Katie. At the start line now, we've got Team 121 ARC Trooper, and I wanted to talk a little bit about their Jeep this morning because I think it's probably the most heavily modified vehicle here at the event. So it has 1-ton Curry axles underneath it. You can see the 8-lug full float axles. They have coilover shocks, and this Jeep normally runs on 40-inch tall tires. It's set up for rock crawling, but in order to be in the event this year, the maximum tire size is 35, so they've run these 35-inch Maxxis Razor MTs on it. But otherwise, same vehicle they use for trails like the Rubicon, taking to Moab, and going out and doing hardcore rock crawling. So that's one of the things I really appreciate about this event is you can take any vehicle you have, and tire size is really the only limitation as far as the four-wheel drive class. And I think the reason Emily did that, without putting words in her mouth, is by limiting tire size, you limit the modifications people have to make, and you limit the impact. It really puts the skill back in the driving and the navigation rather than just building a vehicle to overcome whatever you might encounter. So this Jeep has worked out really well so far. I think there is an upper limit to modifications that at this event where reliability starts to become an issue as you get things like, I personally wouldn't want to do an engine swap or major modifications. Another thing, I certainly wouldn't want to do any modifications right before the event. The teams that have done the best thus far and traditionally in the past are ones that know their vehicle really well. All the modifications are well sorted out, because anytime you stray from the factory offering, there's going to be compromises that you have to make. You're going to have little changes or things that need to be addressed. So the last thing you want to do is have to address those on the rally when there are so many other things competing for your time and energy. This vehicle behind them now is the G-Wagon, and I like to think of it as the German Jeep. I mean, it has a lot of similarities. Coil springs, solid axles with locking differentials. Obviously, we don't see a lot of these in the United States. It's more exotic than a Jeep, but really shares a lot of the same underpinnings in terms of ladder frame construction, solid axles, things that make the vehicle reliable and simple. I find it very funny that G-Wagons in our country have become a status symbol. They cost 6 figures and they're owned by celebrities, when really this is a vehicle designed in the 70s. It's used by NATO around the world, and they're really very simple and reliable and sturdy. But being German, you don't see as many of them here as you do overseas. It's proven to be reliable thus far, with some modifications and some fixes in camp, but I'm glad to see Team 124, the Choco Love team, out here still competing and living to compete another day. Behind them, a less modified Jeep Wrangler. Team 136 drove their Jeep all the way out from New York. We spoke a little bit about them yesterday. They're rookies and they've had a good time. They're doing well at the rally. I think that they did great yesterday in terms of time management on the longest stage. That ended up being an issue for a lot of teams in terms of fatigue, decision making. And today I expect to see more of that. While we're not covering as much ground, there are certainly a lot of different checkpoints to reach today. More checkpoints than any other day of the rally. So expect to see the scores shaken up even more today than we've seen in the past. That's it. Now, back to you, Katie.
Welcome back. So our head of scoring and head judge, who is also Matthew's wife, just came across Matthew's hairdo and we've grabbed her. She told him, did anyone tell my husband to check his hair? I think your hair looks fabulous, Matthew.
I don't care. I appreciate that.
Okay, now why we've got Chrissy, because like Jimmy, Chrissy runs from us, and so Matthew's grabbed her, and we want to talk a little bit about your experience last year. These two won the staff precision. Actually, you should have won it.
Yeah.
And you did.
It was great. It was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for head scoring judge to prove that she knows her business. And even though I tried to talk her out of what some of those tulips looked like, she set me straight. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is a really, really cool thing that the girls are getting to do last year. And Jimmy wanted to do it last year.
Yeah.
And I nixed it because I didn't think it was going to be able to be fair, and we were going to be able to do it in a way that was really consistent with throughout, for everyone. And
how did you make it fair?
We've developed it over the course of the year, and I got to say though that having run it last year, like Jimmy was like, okay, if the girls aren't going to run it, let's have the staff run it. And then I think maybe he was like, okay, then I can prove to Chrissy how good it is.
And you won it.
And he did, because I won it. So
who was driving?
I was like,
who was
wow,
navigating?
This is amazing.
Oh, you hear her?
She was driving.
I won it.
Because I won it. I was like,
it's true.
I mean, we won it.
I did the driving. I wanted to drive all manner of other places than what she told me to do. But I'm like, all right, we'll just see. And then there we were at the end.
The dynamic duo. Yeah. Well, Chrissy, we are going to come and have a deeper interview with you later about scoring and judging, as things heat up.
Yeah.
Any little tidbits in terms of, it looks tight right now, don't you agree?
Yeah, it is tight, and I think it's going to stay tight.
That's Phil.
It's Phil. It's dispatch. I'll be right back.
Okay, dispatch. We're going to go to a proving ground video and let Chrissy go and do her job.
That's what it.
The Rebelle is this incredibly unique proving ground because it's so authentic. It will throw everything it's got at a person, a product, or a vehicle, and that's weather, temperature, altitude, and terrain. The Rebelle really gives people and companies a chance to try their vehicle in every type of environment that it was designed to be driven in. People don't realize that these are engineering masterpieces. Especially in the women's market, it's really important that the Rebelle is not a watered-down event. It is tough for anyone at any level.
I have a lot of respect for the other women who are in stock vehicles because this is not easy.
I love that it's an opportunity for ladies to get together, to challenge themselves mentally, physically. The 8 days of competition is extremely demanding. You get an opportunity to step out of your comfort zone and push yourself to the next level.
The Rebelle is designed for the vehicles in our driveway, not for race cars, tube chassis vehicles. They're street legal cars that we drive every day. It was great to see the engineers at Honda really step up and say, this is where we want to test our vehicles.
Honda, everybody has such a specific expertise within the company, and so this really allows them to, get a broader vision and exposure to the vehicle as a whole rather than just their own specialized component.
I really love our partners because they want our feedback. They want us to tell them what's working and what isn't working. We went the extra mile with this proving ground by putting in our technology partner, Mapbox.
It's a really exciting opportunity for us to get to work through the hardest questions that we have as a company trying to build a platform. What we need is to be able to give human beings better ways of making decisions and interpreting information. And so this is a really good, very close feedback loop between the paper map and the human being, and then you have to go out into the real world and find that place.
Seeing what's on the map versus how we've designed it is really a proving ground for what is our understanding of what a map means to someone.
What Mapbox is able to do is to take all this data and be able to put it into a map and a dashboard that companies can literally show to the world, or they can be sitting in an office halfway across the country or the world and be watching real time or near real time their product performance. And that is unique. It may be this analog event, an analog competition, but it has this incredible technology backbone that we built into it. We don't say that the Rebelle is going to change your life. We just say that we've created a platform and it's your movie. But what we've seen and how we've seen people change is incredible.
I thought I was going to come into this learning a lot about navigation and driving, and I think the biggest thing I've learned about is about teamwork and perseverance and, letting other people believe in you more than you believe in yourself until you believe in yourself as much as they do.
Crossing the finish line on the final day of the Rebelle Rally is a badge of honor because you have just gone through everything that we could throw at you, and you survived it. I always say that the Rebelle is like this Wizard of Oz journey, that whatever lesson you need to learn, it's going to be handed to you on the Rebelle.
Dress. That sun's about to roast you. You need to take that off.
I was just saying it's definitely a coffee morning, and then I looked over and noticed that Matthew has 3 cups of coffee. Have you drunk all those cups of coffee, Matthew?
I tried to share half a cup of one with Chris Walker. So
okay, let's look at it. 3 cups of coffee.
No, it's 3 cups.
And now he's trying to say that he shared it.
Whatever. I like it.
We're going to have a long day. We're going to get out in the field today. In fact, before we throw to Harry, we're going to go live from Dove Springs, which is another climbing challenge, at 11 o'clock, depending on how quickly we get down there. Let's go talk to Harry about these vehicles and the challenges that they're facing today.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, right now we're looking at the Infinity team coming down a hill live on camera from the drone. You can see base camp behind them, and it really gives the perspective for just how steep that hill is. So your instincts in a situation like this are to get on the brakes, but a lot of times that'll initiate a slide. You're better off light on the brakes and allowing the tires to still turn so that that'll allow you to steer, where if you're sliding, even if you turn the wheels, you have input from the steering wheel, you might just slide straight down. So there's really a lot of technique involved here, and visibility is limited for them, especially in a vehicle they're not that familiar with. There's only a few vehicles left at the start line now. One of the Bronco Sports is one of them. That's Team 203, Team Horsepower. And these vehicles are competing in bone stock, which means you can't make any modifications besides tire and wheels. I think that's a limiting factor. Now, obviously, if you're an OEM, you want those bragging rights. It's certainly a badge of honor. one of the first upgrades I would make if I wasn't concerned about being in bone stock is suspension modifications. For instance, last year the Excels won overall in the event in a Lexus GX 460. This year they came back with the larger LX 570 from Lexus, and it has aftermarket suspension on it, including larger shock absorbers. So that came into play yesterday on that long stage where fatigue is a factor. And while this isn't a competition for speed, comfort and speed were a factor when you're trying to cover over 400 kilometers in a day and get from checkpoint to checkpoint. The larger the shock, the more fluid it'll hold in it, the better it can damp. It won't fade over long periods of time. So we've seen lots of aftermarket shock absorbers at this event from manufacturers like King, Fox. There's many high-quality shocks out there, and the team that stood out to me yesterday, in addition to the Excels, was Blantourage. They came in second for the day, and they have ADS shocks that have been specifically valved for their vehicle, and it definitely made a difference when we saw them out on the course. The exception would be Rivian. They finished first for the day, Team Kilowatt, and they have a bone stock vehicle with stock suspension on it. So there are exceptions to the rules. Maybe they're just did that much better than everyone else, but I think you can see the suspension on here, this Tundra at the start line. They have Camberg upper control arms, so what those do, you can see they're made out of tubular steel. As you lift the vehicle, the suspension geometry changes, the caster and camber. Those arms correct it to stock settings, allowing the vehicle to track properly and the tires to wear properly, but you get that added suspension lift. They have Bilstein coilovers on the front of this. Bilstein, another great shock manufacturer that we're seeing getting more involved in the OEM side of the market. The new TRX from Ram has Bilstein shocks on it. They're also using Bilsteins now on Jeep vehicles, competing with Fox that's offering factory bypass shocks on the Ford Raptor, which is certainly at the top of the food chain at the moment with regards to stock vehicles. Only a few vehicles left here at the start line now, taking off for this extreme enduro, and this was originally going to be run at the end of the day. They switched it to the beginning of the day, and I'm curious to see how mentally this affects the competitors. I think if they do well, they'll carry that high into the rest of the day. My concern is that teams that get a little rattled on this technical terrain, specifically the driver more than the navigator, I think could be a factor. We'll find out shortly. That's it for the start line now. Back to you, Katie.
Welcome back. So we are going to bring in our resident expert trainer, Chris Walker, who does a lot of the training for the Rebels. And he's going to talk a little bit about what's going on up on the Precision Enduro. Go for it, Chris.
Hey, good morning. So part of today's drive this morning is we're looking at some steeper terrain, some more complex terrain for the ladies here. So when we're out in the woods, when we're out in the wilderness trying to drive our off-road vehicles, what we're looking to do is to preserve those vehicles for the length of the competition. And there's a couple of key principles that we want to look at when we're driving that vehicle. And one of those is the more we can keep the tires on the ground, the less we can spin those tires, the more potential traction that we have. And when we have traction, we have the ability to maneuver that car and push that car into the terrain that we want to negotiate. And if we look here on the hill, we've got this Jeep about to make a little bit of a steeper climb. And some of the principles that they want to look at, like I said, is keeping those tires on the ground and not trying to spin them. So as they climb up this steep section here, there's a little bit of a V gully in there, and we saw a car earlier struggling to make that climb, and the challenge they were having is they lost traction on a couple of those tires. And as we watch this Jeep negotiate this piece of terrain, we can see that they're really trying to adhere by that principle of keeping those tires on the ground, keeping lots of traction. And honestly, a lot of this stuff, you don't need much speed. These vehicles these days are really, really, really capable. They have lots of mechanical components in there, some electronics that really assist the driver on making that ascent up this hill. And as you can see with this Jeep, it's nice and simple.
Thank you so much, Chris. Just such great knowledge. I learned a lot there. I need. Can we have a lesson a bit later? Maybe at Dove Springs. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, before we wind up today, Matthew and I are going to go over our incredible starter package prize. It's not just one prize; it's lots of prizes. It's valued at over $700. And if you're interested in doing the Rebel, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter on the website. So www.rebelrally.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You'll get a daily update about what's going on course, which is really fantastic from our media team. It tells you exactly what's happening today. It recaps on the day before and what's coming ahead. So here we go. Matthew, what is that?
Yeah, it's a high visibility LED road flare. It also has a top light, different modes for blinking, red lights and white lights and such.
The red one was playing up last night. It's like a disco light.
Yeah, we've got disco, like a round light. Like, I don't know if you realize, LEDs from a distance at night, especially when it's really dark, are really easy to see. So even a small package like this can pack a lot of power, of visibility, and being able to draw attention to you on the side of the road.
And then we've got our coffee from Cafe Moto. They're an original coffee company from San Diego, and they've been partnered with us for years, and it's good coffee.
A little side note, Chrissy and I used to walk, ride skateboards or bicycles down to Cafe Moto because we lived in a warehouse like 2 blocks away.
So we love them. And then Choco Love is the G-Wagon. It's Team Choco Love, and we've got our no sugar added chocolate here, fruits and nuts and salted caramel. We have a mask and a bandana from Cafe Moto and some stickers. Trail Naturals here, some zinc because it gets really hot out there. A corksicle water bottle. Let's talk about our cousins.
Our crazy cousins from the south.
That we might see this weekend. We don't know. They might come. They may. You never know with your cousins.
It's a waterproof carry-all from Total Chaos. It's got shoulder straps and the fancy folded up kind of bit, so it actually is waterproof.
They come in so handy. I use mine
dust-proof, probably. Dust-proof in this case.
Perfect. The tool that every Rebel needs from Sunto, a compass. Fantastic item here. And then this, I have to say, is my favourite. Matthew and I were just talking about this. I've used this probably 5 times this year to jump my own vehicle, to jump other people on the side of the road, and my boat. And I think Matthew had one earlier, and he was charging his phone.
Just charging my phone, but I love I can hook multiple things to it, and there's enough juice there. And look at that, can fit in a glove box compared to you used to have jumper cables, and then you had to flag another car down to get your jumper cables on them. Like this little baby's powerful.
These little cables, when I pull it out on the side of the road to help someone, they look at me because I'm
they laugh
and they're
a bit, like, what
are you
that?
doing? And
that
what
goes
is
to your laptop. What are you doing?
And then I started up with this tiny, tiny box. So thank you. That's from Wagon Tech, a new partner this year. We have a big Agnes duffel and this rock, which we're not going to ship to you, but it's a personal rock from Ridgecrest.
The thing I love about this duffel is you see it unfolded there. It holds a load of stuff, but all my duffel bags are huge and they take up a lot of real estate when I'm not using them. This one folds up into a nice small package there. And a beanie, which everyone needs, and of course another mask here. And then our finale prize is a used Max Track, but you'll get a pair of these. And we might see some competitors using these out on course today. In fact, Chris Walker, our resident expert, and Paige, our drone pilot, had to pull theirs out yesterday on the Chocolate Mountain. Didn't you, Paige? Did you enjoy that? It was all Paige's fault. Yeah, it was all Paige's fault. Paige loves getting stuck and digging in the sand.
Yeah,
turns out.
We just ran out of traction.
We might make a piece on that tomorrow. So I think we should wrap up today and get in your vehicle with Phil here, who I like to call. How are you doing, Phil?
Great.
Are you excited to get out on the course today?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We hear your brother got engaged this week. Are we allowed to congratulate him on live TV? Because we just did. Congratulations to Will's brother. Okay, so I want you to follow us on social. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Go to rebelrally.com and you can learn all about doing the rally. Ask us questions on Facebook. We're going to do a Q&A tomorrow morning here at the start. And don't forget to download YB Races. Have I forgotten anything, Matthew?
Just on the website, click on live, scroll down, click on scoring. You're not done clicking yet. Today is day 3. If you want to follow the checkpoints today, click on day 3. And then you can follow the checkpoints as the teams get those. We've got 4x4s in Group A, Group B, and Group C are our X-Cross cars.
And day 3 is the make or break day. The wheels could come off. Tomorrow, Matthew or I could be speaking French if we don't get a good night's sleep. So we look forward to seeing you this afternoon from 11 o'clock at some point at Dove Springs on course. Peace out.
Life can throw you a curve, send you down an unexpected path. But navigating the rocky moments is part of the adventure. To help you discover what's been missing.
Bandit! Why did you run off?
Introducing the 2021 Telluride Nightfall Edition.
Iridium is more than just a satellite company, making connections anywhere, to anything, or anyone. There's no other network like it. Operating in low Earth orbit, Iridium is still the only commercial satellite system where calls and data are passed from satellite to satellite. Safety and reliability are in Iridium's DNA. Trusted by people and organizations in some of the world's most challenging environments, Iridium remains committed to helping make the world a safer place. As we look to the future, the possibilities are endless.